If you're learning a new language, especially English, I'm sure you know the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
That precise instant when your brain has the perfect sentence all lined up, but the words, they just stay locked behind your teeth.
Right. It's not about vocabulary. It's not a grammar problem.
No, it's fear.
Yeah.
Just pure paralyzing anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think that fear is the single biggest barrier between knowing a language and, actually speaking it.
It really is. It's that clash between what you know and that performance anxiety. And for this deep dive, we looked at a really specific set of materials, almost like a blueprint, you could say. And it's not designed to teach grammar, but to teach courage. So our mission today is to strip out these simple, structured strategies that promise to build that psychological resilience.
To speak without fear. I love it.
Exactly.
And it's such essential knowledge, right? Because if you don't have the confidence to actually speak, all the studying in the world is, well, kind of pointless.
It is.
So we've basically synthesized this into 4 core psychological hurdles that I think every learner faces. We're talking nervousness, mistakes, shyness, and that feeling of not making progress.
Stagnation.
And for each of these hurdles, the sources give us a mindset shift or a really specific piece of advice. So this deep dive is all about extracting that shortcut to actionable confidence.
Exactly. We're trying to move beyond just, feel motivated and into the actual mechanics of building a speaking habit that fear can't break so easily. So let's unpack it.
Let's do it. Let's start right at the beginning. That feeling that is just the most relatable for anyone trying to speak a new language, that sudden surge of nervousness. You could be totally prepared, but the anxiety just hits you like a wall. It feels unavoidable, and honestly, it's usually the signal to just stop trying.
Yeah, to retreat. So how does this blueprint advise we handle that initial paralyzing feeling?
Well, this is what I found so powerful. The first step is all about validation. The source material doesn't tell you to ignore it or just, power through it.
Just be brave.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It normalizes it right away. The core response in the script is, that's okay. Everyone feels nervous at first.
And that move is so important psychologically. It takes the fear from being a personal failing, like what's wrong with me, to being a universal, totally expected part of the process.
That reframing is everything.
Yeah.
It tells you you're not broken. This is just the starting line. But that validation, that's just the warm-up, really. The foundational principle, the thesis of this whole thing comes right after.
It does. And this is the sentence that I think changes everything for the learner. It's confidence grows when you practice, not when you're perfect.
That one sentence, if you can internalize that, it is just revolutionary. Most of us were taught to believe confidence is something you earn after you get good.
After you're flawless.
Right. You practice until you're perfect, and then you're allowed to feel confident.
But this flips that whole cause and effect. It says the process itself, the very act of trying, is what builds the confidence.
No.
So if your goal is perfection, you're always going to fail because it's impossible. But if your goal is just practice, if you can ask yourself, did I open my mouth and try to communicate?
When you win every single time.
Every time. The quality of what came out doesn't even matter for that specific goal.
It just lowers the stakes so much.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get my grammar perfect, I can't listen, I can't respond naturally. I'm just trapped in my own head.
Total performance anxiety.
But if the only measure of success is the attempt, then my brain is actually free to, communicate.
It creates what we're calling practice acceptance. You're not performing, you're just practicing. I mean, think about lifting weights. You don't get stronger by waiting until you're already strong enough to lift perfectly.
Of course not.
You get stronger because you attempt the lift, even if your form isn't perfect, even if you fail the rep. This is saying that the simple act of speaking is the lift. It's the only thing that generates the confidence.
Okay, so we've established that practice, just the sheer quantity of speaking, is more important than the quality, at least at this stage. But that leads directly to our second section. If you commit to speaking more, you're going to make a ton more mistakes.
Oh, it's unavoidable, which is why the source addresses errors head on. If you embrace this practice philosophy, you are guaranteed to hear yourself messing up constantly.
Mispronouncing words, getting the tense wrong.
All of it. And that little voice in your head says, I always make mistakes.
And that thought leads to the real fear, which is communication breakdown. You're not worried about the mistake itself. You're worried that people won't understand you.
Exactly. Will they get what I'm trying to say? Because if they don't, that confidence engine we're trying to build just stalls.
So what's the tactical advice here?
It's so simple, but it's profound. The script says, speak slowly and clearly.
It seems obvious, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's a strategic choice.
It is. It's permission to trade your fluency for being understood. And the source is really explicit about this trade-off. It says, definitively, confidence is more important than speed.
Okay, let me just push back on that a little. Is there a risk there? I mean, doesn't speaking too slowly make you sound kind of robotic or unnatural?
That's a fair point, and it would be a concern if this were advice for, say, an advanced speaker trying to fine-tune their accent.
Right.
But for this confidence-building phase, it's a cornerstone. When you slow down, you're actually reducing the cognitive load on your brain.
You're giving yourself time to think.
You're giving your brain a chance to find the right word or the correct grammar instead of just grabbing the fastest thing it can find, which is often wrong.
So it's temporary strategy, like training wheels.
Yeah.
The goal isn't to talk slowly forever.
Precisely. You're using slowness as a shield to guarantee that communication happens successfully in that moment. Think about it. If you're understood, your brain logs that as a successful practice, a win. But if you speak quickly, make a bunch of mistakes, and you have to repeat yourself 3 times, your brain logs that as a failure, even if you spoke more words. Slower, successful speech is what keeps the momentum going.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so we've dealt with the external pressures. Nervousness is normal. Mistakes are managed by prioritizing clarity. Let's pivot now to the internal fight. Shyness. What happens when you know the words, you want to speak, but just the inertia of being shy keeps your voice locked inside?
Well, shyness needs a more specific internal tool. It's not just general advice. And this is where the source gives us a very focused, actionable mechanism.
Which is?
The affirmation. When you feel shy, the instruction is to immediately use the phrase, I can do this.
Okay, that sounds a little like generic motivational speaking, but I'm guessing the real power here is in the discipline, not just the phrase itself.
Absolutely. This isn't just positive self-talk. It's more like preemptive behavioral conditioning. The source insists that this phrase has to be repeated every day.
Every single day.
It's a daily commitment, not just something you pull out when you're anxious.
So why is that repetition so critical? Why the daily discipline to fight an emotion like shyness?
Because confidence isn't just a feeling, it's about establishing an internal sense of control. Shyness tells you that external things, what other people might think, how hard the conversation is, are in control. By repeating, I can do this every day, you're literally creating new neural pathways. You're preloading your brain with a default response that says, okay, initiate speaking no matter how you feel in that moment.
So you're treating shyness like a muscle that needs a daily workout. You can't just hope for courage to show up when you need it.
You have to build the mechanism beforehand.
That's it, exactly. You turn confidence from this passive, elusive thing you hope to feel into an active, repeatable mental exercise.
Right.
The repetition ensures that when a moment to speak pops up, that practiced affirmation can override the shyness before it completely takes over. The source basically guarantees that if you do the daily mental work, the confidence will follow. A fundamental commitment, then. Daily internal practice to back up the external speaking practice. Which brings us to the fourth and, I think, final, psychological barrier. This is the one that kills momentum for so many people.
The plateau.
The plateau. You've been practicing, you're saying your affirmation, but you look in the mirror and you just think, I don't see any improvement.
And that feeling of stagnation is maybe the most demoralizing of all, because it attacks the very system we've just been talking about.
Yeah, if I'm practicing but I don't see results, then maybe the practice isn't working. And that's when people quit.
We all look for those huge, measurable leaps, don't we? I couldn't do this yesterday. Now I'm fluent today. But learning just doesn't work like that, especially after the beginner stage.
So how do the sources tackle this despair?
With a really powerful, almost you could say spiritual reassurance. When the learner says, I don't see my improvement, the response is very firm. You are improving, you just don't notice it.
Okay, so let's justify that. Why is it true? How can someone be improving if they don't feel it?
Because learning isn't a straight line, it's often logarithmic. In the beginning, every new word feels like a massive victory.
Sure.
But as you get better, the gains are smaller, they're incremental. Your brain is moving from conscious effort to unconscious competence. It's refining things, automating grammar, cleaning up your rhythm, changes that are too small for you to notice day to day.
So the progress is happening, but it's happening under the surface, hidden from your immediate self-reflection.
Exactly. It's like watching a plant grow. You don't see it happen in real time, but if you compare a photo from last month to today, the change is undeniable.
I like that analogy.
The blueprint tells the learner, every small step counts. Whether you can perceive that tiny gain is totally irrelevant to the fact that it's happening. The improvement is a natural result of the attempt. So the required action here is basically faith. You have to believe in your progress.
That's a huge shift. It takes success out of the hands of your ego. Do I feel smart today? And puts it back into the commitment, did I show up today? It validates the effort, even when the evidence is invisible.
And that leads us right to the big synthesis, the ultimate definition of confidence that ties all four of these ideas together.
Right. So if we unify this whole concept, practicing over perfection, clarity over speed, the daily affirmation, and trusting in unseen progress, what is the final conclusion that this blueprint offers?
The sources wrap the whole thing up by defining confidence explicitly as a skill.
A skill, not a talent you're born with.
Not a gift.
And definitely not a reward for being perfect. That changes the entire way you should approach learning a language.
And like any skill, the source says it's built only with practice. The final reinforcing message is this: every time you speak, you become better.
That's the highest level of reassurance there is. The improvement is a guaranteed outcome of just doing the thing.
It is.
It simplifies the whole process down to just output. It doesn't matter if you're perfectly grammatical, doesn't matter if you're fast. You didn't even have to feel confident before you spoke.
You just had to make the attempt. The improvement is a hardwired consequence of that practice. It really is a blueprint that prioritizes action over your current mental state.
Okay, let's do a quick recap. Solidify the 4 cornerstones we've looked at today. First, nervousness is normal. So you have to focus on practice over perfection because practice is the engine.
Right. Second, handle mistakes by speaking slowly and clearly. The goal is successful communication because confidence is more important than speed.
Third, you combat shyness from the inside out with that daily affirmation, I can do this, turning confidence into a mental discipline.
And finally, you maintain your motivation by trusting that improvement is happening even if you can't see it, because every small step you take genuinely counts toward building that skill.
That's a great summary. So this brings up an interesting final thought for you to consider. If the source material defines confidence as a skill that improves automatically, simply because every time you speak, you become better, it raises a question. We know that the frequency of the attempt is the key. But how do you stop that from just becoming mindless repetition? How do you balance the sheer volume of practice that's required with the need for, active self-correction to make sure that practice is actually meaningful?
That's the real challenge, isn't it? I think the key is that the practice has to be frequent, but your analysis of that practice has to be kind. Don't judge the fluency, judge the commitment. If you can focus on the quantity of attempts and let the learning process itself handle the invisible quality control, then you've truly mastered this blueprint.
Great final thought. Keep speaking, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.